Hello to you and welcome, wherever you may be. Well, I'm knee-deep in many projects, from laptop repair to upholstery to more fixing of my collection of sash windows. Today on the list I'm going to talk about negative emotions, I'm going to talk about the repetition in the roles of the centers, then I shall talk about hidden Christianity. Let me start with this. Although our negative feelings seem very real to us, they are actually an artificial and damaging effect of our externally governed personalities. Because negative emotions depend on our identification with an imaginary reality, they can be modified by altering our perception and understanding of external events. Ouspensky embarks upon this task by teaching new attitudes towards negative emotions and by recommending a technique called non-expression of negative emotion. And after practice with these methods, Ouspensky suggested specific techniques for weakening the effects of identification. Well, is it true? Is it true? Has anybody ever gotten rid of negative emotions by these methods? Never. But human beings will keep trying the same non-working methods until this universe comes to an end, because for them it doesn't really matter whether they work or not. They haven't got anything else to do. And such is our species and such is the planet, and for all I know, the angels and God himself may be the same. But I am not the same. I refuse to live like that. I want results and I want answers. If negative emotions really are that unnatural, what the hell are they doing there? One should be very careful with condemning nature or thinking that you know better than the body, better than the earth, or better than what is actually there, because what is actually there is created by forces infinitely more intelligent than you. They are not like those little spiritual ideas you have. They do not apologize and they do not explain, they act. The cosmos is a vast, vast thing. If we consider a case, I'm working for a company and some Americans take it over. They sack half the people so they can suck the money out. That's how Americans are these days. And you're shocked, you can't deal with it. Suddenly you've lost everything and you can't support yourself. You cannot deal with this information. It has happened and you cannot unhappen it, but you also cannot deal with it. That creates what is called trauma, and you'll have a lot of negative emotions about that. Fear, anxiety, anger. They'll come up and up and up and up. So what are you going to do? Are you going to use Ouspensky's methods to observe it? Do you think it's really going to go away? It's never going to fucking go away. Don't you know that? Something has happened and it needs to be integrated. It can be very painful, and the negativity is a marker that shows you where there is a problem that needs to be integrated, needs to be worked on. It's like discordant vibrations that have not merged with you. They cannot merge yet. So they are held in the outer layer, and they are waiting for you to work on them. So if negative emotions don't have an actual center, it's kind of irrelevant. They point to an intermediary stage. That's why they have no center. Ouspensky goes on to say, we cannot change what we feel at any given moment, but we can make ourselves think about a subject at a given moment. Although emotion is much quicker than thought, emotion is a temporary thing, but thought can be made continuous. Is it true what Ouspensky says? He talks about what our faculties are, that we don't have much in the way of feelings. But is the fourth way about using what we have already? Or is it in fact about developing our centers, extending their abilities. Of course it is. He says that we cannot change what we feel. That's not true. People have coffee to change what they feel. People listen to the radio, or alternatively listen to calm or noisy music because they like a particular mood. In fact, they want to activate one of the many eyes. And organizing a dirty weekend is another way to change your feelings. The Christian way, of course, is to pray in the octave, because the director is higher than the emotional center. The director has a small amount of power over the emotional center. I suppose here I'm talking to regular people, not those who are interested in the New Age, who would have tried many different methods that are out there these days. Ouspensky says, "We think that negative emotions are produced by circumstances, whereas all negative emotions are in us, inside us. Our negative emotions are in ourselves and are produced by ourselves. There is absolutely not a single unavoidable reason why somebody else's action or some circumstance should produce a negative emotion in me. It is only my weakness." Well, that doesn't follow. If they are in you and they are unavoidable, then of course you're going to feel bad when you're triggered. What else is going to happen? The fact that they are inside you means something, Mr. Ouspensky. Now what does it mean? Let me help you out here. You have accumulated a certain material. You are not able to digest it. Now it causes you trouble. You can observe it, stop it, non-express it, but that's not the same thing as digesting it. The digesting it is difficult and painful, okay? That's the answer, my friend. I saw a beautiful old painting of a football game between Manchester City and Corinthians FC, which was a London club that no longer exists. Why is it that the English are known for their politeness, for queuing, for saying sorry all the time? Isn't it obvious that they were once all very Catholic? Isn't that really the reason? Is it just a coincidence? And it was pointed out to me that various edgy talking heads in the media are Jewish. And that's what remains, like the pyramids of an ancient people from 3,000 years ago. That's what remains. And this is what remains of our Catholic England. And they are falling. I just happened to see a very beautiful older English lady that I happen to know in a little motorized scooter scooting down the pavement, and that's what they have come to. And that's the dream. All I can say is that in World War II the Germans offered Churchill about 10 times a truce, a peace, an agreement, a deal, and Britain refused all 10 times. And the BBC, that did not exist during the heights of the British Empire, are doing a very good job of burying them forever. In short, they love everything that destroys them, and they hate everything that would save them. The thing I found most difficult about living here is the terrible joy people show on their faces as they manifest evil things, self-destructive or destructive to others. For instance, they will not rest until you have injected yourself just as much as they have injected themselves, because anything else makes them feel uncalm, and to calm themselves they require you to fuck yourself up just like they fucked themselves up. It's a terrible thing, and it's very dangerous, and it will not stop being like this until the last day, because these people don't have anywhere to go. They are not part of an ascending current. They are going to be buried here, and they are not happy, and that's how they manifest their unhappiness. Because we are very small creatures, little flies, blue bottle flies. How many are there on this planet? Billions. Nature does not have any problem in making billions of these things. Where do you think they go when they die? To heaven? What is meant by heaven is a world of different dimension, a place where people are and can. It's not common at all. Gurdjieff's teaching is very important because it teaches you are only self-realized if you can manifest higher functions. You actually have abilities, for instance the ability to heal people. From that point of view, the amount of real spirituality on the planet is very small. The people who are alive today don't really recognize the questions from previous generations. They don't really understand what is meant by culture. What is real is unknown to these people, which of course means that there are possibilities.
It's great at talking with the big numbers, Mr. McIntyre. See, look, you're good at numbers, eh?
Part of my job, yes.
Right. But you give me a £1 note for every grain of sand I hold in my hand. Now you can have the beach for that. There, eh? Saved you £1 or £2, eh?
Come on, Ben, I don't want to play games. Let's negotiate in a business-like way.
Oh, dear. I mean, you could have had a very nice purchase there, Mr. McIntyre. I can't hold much more than 10,000 grains of sand in my hand at a time. Did you think it would be a bigger number?
Took advantage of me, Ben.
Did I?
Now let's talk about the impressions that we receive and how they work with the reals. From Gurdjieff, he says, "Those said impressions in the common presence of a man are perceived owing to the three, as it were, apparatuses in him. As there are apparatuses in general in the presences of all animals, acting as perceivers for all the 7 what are called planetary gravity-centered vibrations. The structure of these perceptive apparatuses might be called reals. All the impressions received begin to be recorded from the first days after the appearance of a man in the world, and even before, during the period of his formation in his mother's womb. And the separate apparatuses constituting this general mechanism possess also a certain automatically acting adaptation, owing to which newly arriving impressions, in addition to being recorded alongside those previously perceived and similar to them, are also recorded. These impressed perceptions have such a property that from contact with homogeneous vibrations of the same quality, they, so to say, rouse themselves, and there is then repeated in them an action similar to the action which evoked their first arising." I read this out a couple of weeks ago, of course, and it seems to me a very clear explanation why large numbers of English people have now got black shit down their arms, on their throats, and sometimes on their faces. I didn't have one fucking injection, and I will fight until I'm dead. Now let's have another look at a Christianity barely known. Generally speaking, We know very little about Christianity and the form of Christian worship. We know nothing at all of the history and origin of a number of things. The Christian church, the Christian form of worship, was not invented by the fathers of the church. It was all taken in a ready-made form from Egypt, and not from the Egypt that we know, but from one which we do not know. It will seem strange to many people when I say that this prehistoric Egypt was Christian many thousands of years before the birth of Christ, that is to say, that its religion was composed of the same principles and ideas that constitute true Christianity. It seems to me that Christianity is not a moral teaching, but is simply an accurate elucidation of instructions for evolution. And that's what it is. For instance, in the Sermon on the Mount, he went up into a mountain, and when he was set down, his disciples came unto him, and opening his mouth he taught them, saying, Blessed are the poor in spirit, for theirs is the kingdom of heaven. Blessed are the meek, for they shall possess the land. Blessed are they that mourn, for they shall be comforted. Now let's stop there. Blessed are they that mourn. That means they have negative emotions, but they reconcile them. And they shall be comforted, meaning they will become integrated and they will become whole. And that information that was discordant has become integrated. The other parts, to be meek and poor in spirit. To be poor in spirit means that you don't go with the ego. To be meek means that you are humble. In other words, that you stay within yourself and you don't fall into the world. Blessed are they that hunger and thirst after justice, for they shall have their fill. This means that they will actually be able to answer their questions because they look for the truth in things. Most people will never have answers. They will die without answers. Blessed are the merciful, for they shall obtain mercy. In your true structure, you are the same outside as you are inside. So if you are merciful outside, so you shall be merciful inside and be able to integrate yourself. And so on. My point is that these are not emotional, moral, guilt-tripping teachings. Morality is simply clear elucidation of what works for evolution. On the emotional side, there is faith, hope and love and the sense of conscience. It's true. That is an emotional aspect. Why does Christ hang on the cross? Why did he give his life to save us? It is so that we don't live like animals, that we try to enter the astral mind, if you like, so that we are above the body. It's a kind of zone of identity. Christianity is extremely ancient, and it is hard to imagine when you look at an ancient tapestry that there are accurate, hard, technical instructions encoded in there. But that seems to be what it is. And when you see what is encoded in Christianity, you may be truly shocked. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not to temptation, but deliver us from evil. Amen.